Welcome to another episode of Game Boy Roulette, where we take a look at randomly chosen games from the Game Boy library.
Godzilla. What is that, some kind of lizard? I kid, of course. Godzilla isn't some kind of lizard, he's the kind of lizard. The most legendary kaiju of them all, the monster who has destroyed Tokyo at least 10 times, and one of those legendary characters who somehow has never really had any great games. Because besides the Destroy All Monsters games, there's not really another good Godzilla game that does the monster justice. This isn't the first time the big guy has shown up on Game Boy Roulette. We previously checked out Godzilla the series for the Game Boy Color, which was a pretty awful and weird action game where you didn't control Zilla's movement, only his attacks. So realistically, Godzilla has nowhere to go but up for this game, which was released in 1990 for the Game Boy, but is technically a port of another Godzilla game for the MSX. But let's talk about the developer, which is a company we've never seen on Game Boy Roulette before, Compile. There's a good chance you've never heard of Compile, but an equally good chance you're familiar with one of their games. That's because while most of their games were mostly forgettable, things like the Crush pinball games or a few Ghostbusters releases, their biggest claim to fame is creating the legendary puzzle game Puyo Puyo. The color blob matching game has appeared on pretty much every console, whether under its own name or being reskinned as Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, and definitely has a case for being in the top 5 best arcade puzzle franchises ever. And now I'm just really hoping for a puzzle game with the blobs replaced by different Godzilla monsters. Speaking of Godzilla monsters, check out this amazing box art. It's using shots from Godzilla movies with all our favorite characters, such as Mechagodzilla, Ghidorah, Gamera friend to all children, and we don't talk about this one. I love how jarring it all looks. It's delightfully unique. Can Godzilla finally get a good game? Let's crush Tokyo with Godzilla. Toho, who own literally everything with... Oh god, there he is. Godzilla. Head's a little flattened. The horns are angry at me. It does sound kind of foreboding, though. I like that. Head issues aside, that is a cool image of Godzilla. Let's do this. Alright, let's... I beg your pardon? I'm sorry, I'm so distracted by... What? I'm sorry, wait a minute. I'm gonna do something I very rarely do. Let's reset. Godzilla on the title screen. Godzilla in the game? This is just Bubble Bobble. Wow, what a tonal shift. We're not Godzilla, we're just a little guy. As you know, Godzilla punches people with his big lizard fist. So it's just an arcade-style puzzle-ish game. I assume I have to kill all the enemies. Maybe? How do I win? Wait, what do I can't actually... Wait, I'm very confused now. Entire plan? What? Okay, so that's all the levels, I suppose. But how do you win? Like, it's looking okay, and it's playing fine, and although it does not feel like Godzilla at all, but how do you win? Hang on. In order to progress in each level, you must destroy all the rocks. So I already have to restart this level? Man, this is a lot. Okay, so the big thing is, this is not Godzilla. This is Bub. It would not surprise me if this was originally meant to be a Bubble Bobble game. But also, it's just a weird... Oh. Okay. It's just a weird action puzzle game. Boom. Right, the guide I looked up said you can do like this. There's different paths you can take. Does it change the level types at all? No. This is... It's not bad, it's just surprisingly dull. Like, I don't know if these are supposed to be Godzilla enemies. I genuinely can't tell. This might be Mechagodzilla above us. That might have been Ghidorah with one head. That looks like Gossamer up there. Did I just break the level? Yes, I did. Even, you know, putting aside the Godzilla part of it, I'm just really bored with it. It's very slow. Look at this. Some enemies can't be killed, I've learned. You remember this part of Godzilla, right? Yeah, it's just it's very dull. The movement's very slow. As far as I can tell, A button does nothing. You just walk around punching rocks. And, like, that would put it low on the list of, really good, action puzzle games. But Godzilla? Like, yes, you can probably do a cute Godzilla. But when I think of Godzilla games, I imagine something where you're going around destroying cities, fighting kaiju, not going one-on-one with bootleg Pokemon, and just punching rocks. And it's not even like the gameplay, the more I play it, it's not even like the gameplay is that fun at a baseline. Oh, okay, the rock can kill Gossamer. I mean, I don't know what I was expecting. Come to think of it, maybe I have seen this game before. Didn't AVGN briefly talk about this game? I'm having like a very vague memory of him talking about this game and saying essentially the same stuff I am, which is that you're expecting Godzilla and you're getting what can only be described as small lizard friend. Like, they didn't even try to make Godzilla look big, and I feel like that's the #1 thing you should do with Godzilla. Step 1, big. Step 2, atomic breath. Didn't we just do this level? Whoa, 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 whoa. You can go backwards? That's stupid. I do like the general idea of how the levels are being laid out. That there's branching paths with different levels. But if you go backwards, you have to do the level over again? That sucks. That really, really sucks. I'm not feeling this game at all. Do we have to do this level over now, too? We're stuck in a Mobius strip. It's also funny to think about how foreboding the music on the title screen was. And then get this. I need to look up, and I'll do this afterwards, if this was originally a Godzilla game when it was on the MSX. Something tells me this was originally released as, like, Tiny Dino and His Many Friends. And for the Game Boy, they got the Godzilla license and just ran with it. Yeah, this one's a big swing and a miss. Actually, I can't even say that, because that would imply anything in this game is big. This is the smallest feeling video game I've ever seen. And that is just a damn shame to put Godzilla through. Oh, my sweet, tiny, giant lizard child, what have they done to you? I know I talked about it a lot during the gameplay, but I don't want to harp on the graphics of the game too much. I suppose it's perfectly fine to want to chibify the king of all monsters, and of all the systems to do it on, the Game Boy is probably the best choice. The problem with this game isn't that, it's that the game itself is completely boring and forgettable. Walking around each stage, punching endless swarms of enemies, and destroying blocks was not a fun or engaging gameplay loop. It reminded me of something like Lode Runner, but with the movement speed being slow and the enemy attacking coming down to just hitting A. It felt hugely insubstantial. Add to it that all you have to do is figure out a way to break all the rocks, and you're left with a pretty underwhelming game. But what I really want to highlight is one of the more bizarre decisions I've seen in a puzzle action game like this. The level selection. Having multiple paths to follow is one thing, but the fact that you can double back on your own path and have to redo levels if you do adds so much annoyance and frustration. I found this chart for how you get through the game, and it's a mess. Not to mention that you have to find your way to scene 37 to beat the game. It just feels like so many unnecessary steps. I could see a system like this working if the levels were shorter or a lot more fun, but instead it takes an already boring game and makes it way more tedious. It's an interesting idea, but in the context of the rest of the game, it brought the whole thing down even further. It's not that this game is awful, it's at least playable, but I think that between the chippiness, the gameplay, and the level selection, it simply didn't work. Sadly, Godzilla's reputation for below-average video games was not fixed on the Game Boy. Now, Godzilla has to hurry along. He's late for shooting bubbles at little robots. And that's all for another episode of Game Boy Roulette. Make sure to like the video, comment, and subscribe to follow the series as we continue to dig through the Game Boy vault. I'm BrianJ, and I'll see you next time.